Good morning, everyone. As we bring this June 18th meeting of the Arkansas State Highway Commission to order, I will ask that all who are able to please rise and face our flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm Chairman Philip Taldo. I appreciate everyone being here today. This crowd's getting bigger and bigger. Is just because I'm chairman? Is that y'all bringing y'all in? Is that what the deal is? Before we get officially started, some general reminders for everyone who may be speaking or presenting at today's meeting. Please make sure you speak directly as possible into the microphone to ensure your audio is picked up well. As we always do, we are live streaming this meeting and we want it to sound as clear as possible. After each minute order's reading and discussion, it will be kept until the meeting is over, at which time we will sign each one. Thank you. That's a change from what we used to do, but it's a lot more efficient and doesn't take near as much time. That takes us to our first order of business, which is approving the minutes from our previous meeting back in April.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Now I have the honor to introducing the guest which we have with us this morning. I would like to ask Mackenzie McMath Cornell. Did I say that right? Good. To come up to the podium, please. She is the director for the Keep Arkansas Beautiful Foundation. Thank you for being here today, ma'am.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Does this
Perfect.
work? Okay, great. I can't believe I'm really first. I didn't realize I was 100% first one up here. All right. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for having me today. I'm very excited to get to be here for our annual recap of the great work that Keep Arkansas Beautiful has been doing with our partners across the state. Of course, you all know that RDOT is near and dear to our hearts. You are our number one supporter, and we are very much looking forward to continuing our partnership with you all, whether that's through cleanups, wildflower plantings, education, whatever may come. We're happy to know that we count on you as steadfast partners. So let's take a quick recap for those of you who don't know about Keep Arkansas Beautiful to give you a little insight as to what we do. And then we'll look at our 2024 impact report and go from there. All right. Okay. I'm going to give you guys a little insight on how we support Arkansas's priorities. The Natural State Initiative that has been put forth by the Sanders administration is affecting all agencies around, especially Arkansas Parks, Heritage, and Tourism, from which we are a part. We work to enhance the state's image, to highlight the wonderful quality of life, to build meaningful partnerships, which is what we're here doing today, and to get youth out into the outdoors and to help educate them on environmental sustainability and conservation. We also support the Arkansas Learns Act. As many of you know, especially those of you that have kids in high school, all students are now required to have 75 hours of community service. We have created a new branch of our education department that specializes in helping students attain those service learning hours. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get on into the presentation. Keep Arkansas Beautiful, many of you may just think about us as hosting cleanup events, which are a big part of what we do, but it is far from the only thing that we do. We are also very involved in wildflower plantings, recycling, and education. Community cleanups are a big part of what we do, and nothing that we present can be done without the involvement of individual community members across the state. We promote the great ideas, but really we're just facilitating events throughout the state. It takes actual Arkansans to pick up the flag, gather the people, go out and execute a good event. So without them, we're just speaking good words. It's really important for us to help communities develop ownership and pride in their ecosystems. And ecosystems can be natural landscapes, it can be your school, it can be your community. It really is just the area in which you live your life. So we want to make sure that people know that we are here to support beautification initiatives, eco-restoration initiatives, whatever it is that a community feels would enhance their own ecosystem is something we want to be behind. Our impact results for 2024, we had about 21,500 volunteers across all 75 counties. This is our 7th season to have the involvement of all 75 counties, and if I can help it, we will continue to see the involvement of all 75 counties twice a year in our cleanup initiatives. We had about 830 events and picked up 1,366 tons of litter. If you're like me, I'm not a math person. That just sounds like a big number. So that's about 250 African elephants, if that helps you visualize what our volunteers were able to gather across the state. 772 and 51 acres of public parks and areas were cleaned, and about 130,000 hours of volunteer hours. This year, our, what's it called? I'm trying to think. I just lost it. Basically, the value that we return to the state is right under $5 million. So the efforts of our volunteers are equivalent to about $5 million of return value to the state each year. For 2025, or FY, well, I guess I should have changed that to FY26. For our FY26 year, our goals are to have 24,000 volunteers, continue our 75 county participation, continue having over 800 events, and to have more student volunteers to support the LEARNS Act, more cross-cultural engagement, and more wildflower plantings. This last year, we did make great efforts to make all of our materials available in Spanish, all of our education materials, reaching out and working with different Hispanic audiences and nonprofits and different schools that have heavy Hispanic populations to make sure that our initiatives penetrate all of Arkansas's communities and that all of our communities are equally important to us. And we have seen great turnout from that community across the state, so we're going to continue down that road and working to include all Arkansans in all of our projects. Wildflower plantings, this is something that RDOT and Keep Arkansas Beautiful have actually worked on in the past together. But we have taken this a step further and have launched our Arkansas Wild or Grow Wild program this spring, where with the help of RDOT, selected a company to provide us with a local wildflower pollinator mix. And these seed packets come in 25, 50, and 75 square foot packets, and since we launched them in March, we have had over 650 orders for them across the state. We're very excited to make wildflowers and the importance of pollinators a cornerstone of our upcoming education materials. So this is an exciting way for us to beautify not just through small projects, but ongoing projects. And we have created a best practice guide on how to plant the flowers, and people who get our seed packets have the opportunity to share with us photos of the planting, and then they're requested to give us a 3-month update on how their garden is doing, just giving us the opportunity to kind of see where that garden went and get some good photography on the outcomes, because it does take a little time for those seeds to grow. And also, if you order one of those packs, I'm trying to make it fun, kind of like a little Laffy Taffy-esque, so you don't know what the pack is going to say. One might say, "Be Beautiful Blossoms." One might say, "Beauty in the Bees." The other might just say, "Grow Wild." We want it to be fun and bring a little bit of color and excitement to all of our projects. Our recycling initiatives that we support around the state are pretty extensive. While Arkansas does not have a blanket response to recycling. It is hard. It's very regional. It very much depends on what factories are in the area that can use the materials and what they can make them into to be sold later. So it's not a quick fix, one-size-fits-all issue. But we have been working very closely with Ace Glass and Epic Glass to support providing grant funds to small communities to house glass, and Epic Glass will then go and pick up that glass for free and bring it back to their facility here in Little Rock. So we're trying to help at least facilitate the creation of proper holding stations for glass around the state so that we can, at least do our part to help facilitate that recycling. Schools and education, you will see our education materials everywhere. I hope you guys have seen our stuff around. As I said, it's available both in Spanish and English. It very much focuses on environmental stewardship and is in line with state standards of literacy, science, and social studies. So we work very closely with the Department of Education. We have several partners that we have worked with to develop these materials, which include PBS, as I said, the Department of Education, the zoo, and hopefully RDOT adding to that list in the future, wink, wink. We'll see what we can develop. But we have lots of partners around the state that utilize our education materials. That can be teachers, homeschoolers, summer camps, you name it, we're out there. It's very exciting for us to get to see a child's face light up when they recognize Otto the otter, our mascot, and that they've read our books. It's just really special for us. And we're trying to instill good values in young students so that we don't have to work so much on changing behavior later on once that behavior is established. And here we have the LEARNS Act, our service learning hours. So we have categories in eco-restoration, beautification, and conservation. And basically what we've done is provided a bunch of loose blueprints to different types of projects within those categories. We want students to take those projects and make them their own, to say, if I tweaked this project like this and I could apply that to the senior center in my hometown, and however they want to integrate those projects. Something that I did not put into the presentation as it was not yet approved, but now it is, so I can share, is that we have rearranged our grant program. It will now be 16 grants that can be awarded a year of $2,500 that will go towards any type of community project that falls within our mission. It is called the KAB Mission Grant. I did this to lower the barrier for different small communities to be able to at least commence or finish larger projects. I do know that it is hard to get donations for projects in small communities when you have the Humane Society, the Bake Sale, Keep Arkansas Beautiful. You have a limited population that's being asked to provide, for multiple projects. So I wanted to just say, let's get you started, and then maybe once that happens, they can get buy-in from other, businesses, or maybe it's enough to finish their project. But I wanted to make a more substantial amount available so that we could actually just get some work done. With that being said, I am so grateful that RDOT has continued to be a steadfast partner for all of these years, and I really look forward to the things that we will do together in the future. And I humbly ask for you all to please vote to continue our $40,000 grant. And that goes towards mostly the cleanup supplies for the Great Arkansas Cleanup. That includes T-shirts, trash bags, gloves, vests, the things that you see all of our volunteers sporting when they're out doing their events. So thank you for that former support, and I look forward to the continued support. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Director Cornell. Let me just say that you mentioned $5 million that being an impact of your programs. Let me just say that I don't think your impact really can be measured all in dollars and cents. I think it gives the people of Arkansas pride in their state, and goes a lot further than dollars and cents as far as I'm concerned. And I'd be remiss also if I didn't ask you about McMath. That name sounds familiar. Well, is it just old people like me that remember that name from back in Arkansas history?
Well, I hope it's not just, one portion of the population, but yes, Governor Sid was my grandfather, and I am very excited to be in a position working for the state where I too can do my part to better the lives of Arkansans across the state. So for me, it's a real treat to get to have this position.
Well, I can understand that's an honor.
Thank
Great
you.
man. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We appreciate you being here today, and that's all we have right now.
Thank you so much.
Now we move on to the minute orders for this meeting. Commissioners, if you have any questions or comments about the minute orders, please let us know. For the reading of the minute orders, I will call upon Dave Parker, who is head of our communication division. Dave?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Minute Order 1 simply approves the actions of the Purchasing Committee. Minute Order 2, as we just heard, this minute order gives approval to make a $40,000 contribution to the Keep Arkansas Beautiful Foundation for use in conducting the Great Arkansas Cleanup. Minute Order 3, authorization to procure services of an enterprise building security firm and to continue with the design and installation of an enhanced security system for the department as funds become available. Minute Order 4, authorization to request proposals, select on-call consulting firms, and enter into necessary agreements and contracts to provide bridge inspection and load rating services to comply with the National Bridge Inspection Standards. This is for the calendar years 2026 through 28, with an option to extend beyond to the year 2030. Minute Order 5. This minute order calls for the authorization to request proposals, select on-call consulting firms, and enter into necessary agreements and contracts to provide on-call right-of-way acquisition services for the calendar years 2026 through 2028, with the option to extend to calendar year 2030. Moving on, Minute Order 6, we go to District 9, Benton County. This minute order calls for the designation of U.S. Bicycle Route 251, which is from the Missouri state line to Bella Vista, Arkansas. Minute Order 7, District 6, Ashley County. This minute order simply changes the property for job number 020772, Highway 160 Montrose, from a capital asset to right-of-way. Minute Order 8, District 5, Independence County. Minute order declares 2 tracts of land as surplus. And in Minute Order 9, Pulaski County, this minute order calls for the transferring of property identified as job number 006546 to Pulaski County. Minute Order 10, Washington County. This calls for the authorization to partner with the City of Greenland to make improvements to Interstate 49 frontage roads within the city. Minute Order 11, District 5, Cleburne County, calls for the authorization to partner with the City of Heber Springs and Cleburne County to make drainage improvements on a portion of Highway 110 within the city.
What does that partnership look like? Do you have specifics on that?
I do not in front of you, no, sir.
So, Vice Chairman, we were approached by the city a few months ago. They wanted to make some improvements downtown to the highway. This project would benefit the city streets really more than the highways. So we worked out a partnership with them where they'll take over a couple of highways from us to add that value to the system. and we'd make $500,000 available to them to build that improvement.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Minute Order 12 comes out of Johnson County. Authorization to remove a portion of Interstate 40 frontage road from the state highway system and transfer that to the city of Clarksville. Minute Order 13, District 4, Sebastian County. Authorization to permit the city of Fort Smith to install angle parking spaces along Garrison Avenue.
I've got a quick question about that just popped in my head while I was reading it. Is that something that's pretty common? That parking along a state highway like that?
The parking along highways is fairly common in a lot of our older cities, yes, sir.
So what kind of parking is this that they're asking for?
So this is angled parking. There's a
Angled
there's a statute on the books that requires the commission to authorize the addition of angled parking along the side of a highway. And so we're satisfying that with this minute order here. There's parallel parking there, and they want to change it to angled parking.
Well, the only reason I asked that is we got a great example of that in Washington County and the city of Johnson down there, and we've allowed that angle parking there onto what we call Johnson Road, and it's kind of dangerous situation. Cars are backing out on a state highway, and I didn't know if that was something that was pretty common, or in fact they lowered the speed limit to like 20 miles an hour in that area there so people be more careful as these cars back out. Plus that Johnson Road goes right to Tyson General Office, so it's not like there's light traffic on it all the time.
Yes.
And
So in this case, the statute requires that we do an engineering analysis to make sure that there's not a safety issue, and so we've done that here. We understand that concern. We make sure we look at that, but in this case, we feel it's safe and warranted to go ahead and add that angle parking back. And along a piece of this, that angle parking was there for years. The city converted to parallel, and they're just asking to go back to that angle parking.
yeah, I don't have a problem. I was just curious at how that is judged.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I might, Mr. Chairman, I might also add, Jared, you correct me if I'm wrong. We generally, like in this case, we did this as an accommodation to the businesses because they need more parking. They don't have any other parking lots, around. So they need more parking, and angled parking allows them more parking spaces that, as you can understand, is parallel parking. So it's trying to work, trying to accommodate everybody who can. Yeah.
Minute Order 14, authorization to proceed with appraisals, negotiations, and acquisition of access rights from affected properties along U.S. Highway 412 from east of Nob Hill to west of Highway 45 near Hinesville, and to implement partial control of access as funds become available. And finally, Minute Order 15. This calls for the approval to conduct a planning study to determine the need for the feasibility of highway connection between Osceola and Jonesboro. And that is it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dave. Our next order of business will be the State Highway Financial Report. For that, I ask Patrick Patton, our Chief Financial Officer, to come to the podium, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. Today I'll be going over the financials through April. First, we'll see the budgeted versus actual expenses by our budget categories. As you see up on the slide, everything's fairly flat. The ones majority of the budgets are below budget. Up in the right-hand corner, you'll see where we budgeted $168.6 million, actuals $148.6, with total operating expenses under by $20 million or 11.9%. If we keep on this pace for, and I'll mention this again in the next presentation, but if we keep on this pace for the rest of the year, we'll be looking at being about $16 million under budget for our operating expenses for the year, state fiscal year 25. The next slide's our actual revenue, our 5-year trends. The first one, motor fuel, we're about at the 21-22 levels at $296.4 million. 50 million of that is Act 416 motor fuels. If you look at registrations, we're at the 2022 levels. Of that 87.8 million, 3 million of that is Act 416 revenues. In our other category, which is the permits, penalties, driver search fees, we're looking at 20 million. That's staying pretty flat. It's increasing a little bit. Natural gas severance is at 8.8 million for the year. And then we go to operating interest, that's 7.2%, or 7.2 million, which is about 2.5% return on our balances for RRA Quad Zero. Last category that I'll talk about is Amendment 101. Right now it's at 232.9 million, and it's projected to be close to 281 by the end of the year. So overall, we're budgeted for the year at 909 million for budgeted. We're looking at just shy of 900 million if we continue our revenues as they are today, which will be about 10 million under what we budgeted for revenues for state fiscal year 25.
And Patrick, just a reminder that casino revenue will come in later this month.
Yes, ma'am. Casino, that's a good point. Casino revenue and our share of the first 25% of 200,000 in state surplus will also hit June 30.
Patrick, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Going back to expenses, can any of that lowering of expense spending budget versus actual, looks like the actual, as you said, is what, 20 million less than budgeted at this time?
Yes, sir.
Can any of that be attributed to lower cost of construction or construction items, or costs going down in the work we do, or is this, could any of this be attributed to that?
I would not, in my opinion. I'll defer to Jared and others. In my opinion, no. The main difference there is through the special allotments that we have, which is the last item on the slide. You see there's 13 million there that we're under budget. And in those special allotments, we have our IT maintenance contracts. We have our capital projects, which 2 of the capital projects this year that we budgeted for, I did not pass on. It was an accounting entry situation. I didn't pass it on that we were budgeting these above line, so that's really the majority of it, of the cushion that we have in our expenses this year. If those were included, it would be pretty much right on the money.
Okay. Mr. Director, you have commented to me a couple of times about you think that the prices of construction have gone down a little bit. Would you mind to comment on that?
Sure. So to reinforce what Patrick was saying too, I think typically we see, we track under budget until the final month, and we're in June now. So we'll see some of those expenditures happen this month before the fiscal year closes out. We did have a good year for snow and ice. We underspent there, and so we saw some things tick down this year. But yes, overall, the first 6 months of our bid lettings have been, the prices have come down and stabilized. We've seen more competition, more interest in our work, and prices have come down. Kevin's going to talk a little bit about tariffs when he gives his update later today, but we're encouraged by what we're seeing. We
Great.
certainly are.
Okay, well, that's good
Yes,
news.
sir.
Thank you.
And this, keep in mind too, this is not the construction budget, this is our operating budget. That construction budget is shown separately from this. Yes, sir.
And as the director just mentioned, going forward, it sounds like we are going to potentially have some lowering expenses there. So if we go to the budgeted versus actual revenue, once again, you can look and see up in the top corner, 682.5 million is what we have budgeted through April. We're sitting at 672.9 million, which is about 9.6 million below, or 1.4% below the budget. And as I said, right now, we're looking at, if we go the same or the same revenue pattern that we've had the previous 10 months, we'll be about 10 million under what we budgeted for state fiscal year 25. And as a reminder, about 9 million of that was the settlement with DK Trading. So once again, we're right on the bubble of budget. So, for those that contributed to the budgeting process in state fiscal year 2025, I think they hit it pretty good, and hopefully when I give my next report, we'll see some of that continuing. If we go to the next slide, this is our consumption trends year over year for the last 5 years. Right now, we're trending at the 2022 level for gasoline. Diesel continues to climb at about 5 to 10 million gallons a year at a pace. Then the last slide that I will show shows the graphical or line chart representation of the last 5 years through present of quarterly consumption, just trend lines to show that it is a recurring seasonal pattern. Is there any questions? And I'll be back up in a little while to discuss our budget going forward to have that approved.
Thank you for that report, Patrick. And with that, I will turn the meeting over to our director, Jared Wiley. Director Wiley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I call Kevin to the podium, I wanted to give the group an update on important projects to the state, to the region, and I just felt like it was a great meeting and time well spent. In addition to that, we got some special time with USDOT Secretary Sean Duffy, and we were able to talk to him about future grant projects, or grant programs, the importance of major corridors in Arkansas, and talked about how regionally connected we are. So, Vice Chairman, would you like to give us a recap of that visit?
Sure, you've done a good job already. It was a short trip. We had basically a day with our legislators and some time. We went to see the Secretary of Transportation, which in itself was an accomplishment. I don't know who is responsible for that. Nobody told me, but whoever was did a great job just to get us in. And I thought it might be a 10-minute visit or something like that, but he actually, what was it, Phil, about 45 minutes he stayed with us? Yeah. And what was so impressive about that was he was focused on us and focused on what we were saying. This wasn't just, hey, let's get this over with so I can go back to work. He really paid attention to what we had to say. We were basically talking about funding. We talked about a lot of things, but one of the items, of course, that I would be interested in, we talked a lot about I-49, and I was really impressed by the way he focused in on that, and then some of the things he encouraged us with, some of the statements he said afterwards, which I won't share, but he was really encouraging about the possibility that there may be some good things ahead for funding for those and other projects. So we might take some solace in that and some encouragement that good things may be about to happen in the future in terms of funding big projects like that. Otherwise, I would say that our delegation, I can't say enough good things about the meetings we had with Senator Bozeman and Congressman Womack and Congressman Westerman, just really, they are really engaged, I think, in trying to help this department, particularly when it comes to funding, to get, they know the needs, they know what needs to be done. Some of, they're all all three of those gentlemen are in a great position on their committees and subcommittees and where they work. They are in a great position to help Arkansas, and you're going to see that, I think, in their terms. They know what needs to be done, and they know how to get it done. And I'm impressed with all three of them that we met. So, great trip. Jared, thank you for setting that up, and whoever worked with you to make the arrangements for the meetings just did a great job. So,
Thank you, sir.
appreciate that trip.
We had a lot of help. Kevin, his staff, Gil helped. We reached out to Bo Walker with Womack staff, and Mr. Jimmy Harris sitting right behind you with Bozeman staff, and they helped get that meeting set up with Secretary Duffy.
Great.
So we
Thank you
appreciate
very-
that.
thanks,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you.
And on behalf of our staff, I want to thank you and Chairman Taldo for your leadership and your willingness to take time out of your busy schedules and make that trip to the Capitol. It meant a lot to us, you supporting us in our mission, and I think it means a lot to our taxpayers here in Arkansas. So with that, Kevin, would you please come up and give us an update about what's going on around the nation?
Thank you, Director Wiley. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, with respect to our federal funds, we are still operating under a continuing resolution, and we will be for the rest of the current federal fiscal year. We still do not have access to our grant funds that were paused. An encouraging change with regard to these funds is that they are no longer referred to as paused. Instead, they are said to be under review. We see this as a positive step toward FHWA releasing them to us. Additionally, we are encouraged that some of the grants in other states that were paused have now been released. Since the current administration has been making an effort to reduce the size of the federal workforce, we have seen staffing changes at the Arkansas Federal Highway Administration, or FHWA, office. One of those changes means that we are working with staff in the Mississippi FHWA office. Earlier this month, Director Wiley, along with the chiefs, met with Jeffrey Schmidt, the Mississippi FHWA Division Administrator, and Eric Griffith, the Mississippi FHWA Financial Manager. They were able to tell us that some of our grants are working their way through the review process. This is another positive step toward gaining access to our grant funding. Now, turning your attention to Congress, they are working on the budget and appropriations for federal fiscal year 2026. At the same time, they're also working on reauthorization of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which expires in September of 2026. It is encouraging to us that Congress is working on funding for 2026 and reauthorization of the IIJA at the same time. At the state level, I'd like to give you our final summary of the 2025 regular session. It began on January the 13th. Consideration of bills and resolutions ended on April 16th, and they adjourned sine die on May 5th. For the bills that did not have an emergency clause attached to them, they will go into effect on August the 5th. And none of the bills in our legislative package had an emergency clause, so they'll go into effect on August the 5th. And of course, our legislative bills were part of the nearly 2,000 that were considered during this session. We had 9 pieces of legislation in our package. 8 of them are now law. The only one that's not a law is the one that we decided not to run. Our primary focus this session was safety and efficiency. So, let me give you a brief overview of these bills, starting with the 3 bills aimed at worker and driver safety. First was the use of green lights for RDOT employees and our contractors. The green flashing lights help drivers to see our workers in daytime hours and foggy conditions. Second, one of our industry partners, Park Estes, Executive Director of the Arkansas Asphalt Pavement Association, came to us with the idea to include information in the driver's manual and test about driving safely through work zones, and that has become an act. Another safety bill set out to double fines in mobile work zones, like when our workers are patching potholes on the roadway. Now, to help drivers know when they are entering a mobile work zone, we have developed signs that will be on the back of our trucks to inform them they're approaching a mobile zone. These mobile work zones will now be treated the same as a static work zone in Arkansas. And by the way, we are developing some public service announcements to help inform the public about this new law so that they'll know what to expect when they're on the roadway. Switching to efficiency, previously when someone moved classrooms or offices, mobile classrooms or offices, you had to get proof of insurance on file with us and intrastate authority from our legal division. We deregulated that to reduce the burden on contractors and schools who are well equipped to move these items safely without these additional steps. We also changed the statutory language to match current bonding requirements on our highway construction projects. This was a minor fix, but we wanted to make sure that we had it handled in the code. Next, we were able to remove the pilot program from our construction manager general contractor program. We have had some great successes during the pilot program that have no doubt saved the taxpayers money while also expediting project delivery. Another bill reduced the number of appraisers on surplus property from 3 down to 2. And our utility bill will make sure that the department and the utility companies are on the same page as we move forward to get these projects ready for construction. Utility delays are one of the more common delays we face here at the department with respect to our construction projects. So we're looking forward to seeing positive changes there. And last is the denatured ethanol bill. This is a complex issue, so we elected not to run this one. We will meet with our stakeholders, the Department of Finance and Administration, and legislators so that we are able to address this issue in the next session. There are a couple of other bills that were not part of our legislative package, but they provided significant benefit to the department. The first of these acts is Act 704. It dealt with the requirement for the Arkansas Office of Internal Audit to perform an annual review of our implementation of the recommendations that were included in the ALC efficiency study and an efficiency review of the other department operations. Act 704 repeals the requirement for OIA to perform this annual review. Act 414 increased the payment of a claim to designated beneficiaries of survivors of certain public employees killed in the line of duty. The amount increased from $150,000 to $250,000. This act also, for the very first time, includes highway workers. We are grateful for our successes with our legislative package this session and for other benefits that were provided to RDOT. In your last meeting, it was requested that we look into how tariffs were affecting the department. So I'd like to give you an update on what we found out. There are 3 areas where we evaluated the effect of tariffs. These include direct impacts, indirect impacts, and on the availability of materials. Direct impacts would be tariffs on items such as steel that we use in our construction projects or on vehicles that we purchase and use on a daily basis. Indirect impacts would be on items that we or our consultants and suppliers use that would increase their overall operational cost, which would lead to increased cost for our daily activities. With respect to the availability of materials, since the tariffs increase the cost of imported materials, it makes them less attractive to contractors and suppliers. This creates additional demand for domestic products, which contributes to higher domestic cost and could even cause delays in the delivery of materials. Excuse me. When we evaluated how these factors were impacting our bottom line, we discovered that while there have been isolated areas where prices have increased a measurable amount, from an overall perspective, no definitive price increases have been observed. That's good news. One of the reasons we have not experienced price increases, for example, from the steel tariffs, is our procurement process. For many years, there has been a federal Buy America program that requires a domestic manufacturing process for steel products that are permanently incorporated into a federal aid project. The companies that perform the domestic manufacturing process can and do use raw steel materials from foreign sources. So the tariffs do increase the cost of raw materials. However, since the manufacturing process of the steel beam is performed domestically, the tariffs do not affect the manufacturing cost. This means that the tariffs affect a smaller portion of the overall cost of the steel beam, which shields us from significant price increases due to steel tariffs. Some of the information that we found identified that the cost of the raw materials would be anywhere from 20 to 30% of the overall cost. So that definitely would limit the impacts of the tariffs. Additionally, the efficient way we bid, award, and allow contractors to invoice us early in the construction project for the raw materials of the steel beams ensures winning contractors are able to purchase, stockpile, and receive payment for the raw materials of the steel beams as soon as possible. Accomplishing these steps in a relatively short time frame reduces the risk of future price increases. By providing our contractors with this efficient bidding and procurement process, it allows them to bid in their actual cost and not bid higher amounts in order to protect themselves against possible future cost increases. Looking ahead, there is still uncertainty with respect to tariffs in the future. However, for now, the overall impact of tariffs is limited. And because of this, we see no need for immediate policy changes here at RDOT. Feedback from national industry groups and other state DOTs agrees with this position. While tariffs may result in price volatility and longer delivery time for some materials, our procurement processes and supplier relationships are expected to buffer most of those impacts. Director, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions for Kevin?
Yes, sir. I've got actually two questions. One has to do with the impact of not having, I think I understood this right, federal highway representative right here, and we're having to share one with Mississippi. Did I understand that right?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Our local office is down from about 19 staff members to 8, so Mississippi Federal Highways is teamed up with Arkansas Federal Highways, and they're working together to deliver the federal aid program in those two states. Yes, sir.
So you got to go to Jackson if you want to do.
Yes, they're overseeing operations. They're really helping out with environmental right now. Arkansas doesn't have an environmental person anymore, and so Mississippi's handling that for us, and their division administrator there in Mississippi is overseeing Arkansas's office as well. But overall, we haven't seen too many delays. They're working hard to keep things moving.
Okay.
In the few years that I've been involved with it as well, I'll add that, used to, we had to transmit paper back and forth between the offices. Now, many of those processes are electronic, so the speed of communication is much enhanced. And whether it's in Mississippi or anywhere else, we're able to communicate as quickly as we need to, whenever we need to.
Okay.
Jared, the administrator they brought in, he's most recently been in Alaska. Is he in Mississippi or is he based here?
So he on that second round of early retirement. He took the buyout package, so he's retired now. So he was here with us about a month and a half, and just enough. He got some great things accomplished while he was here, but he's retired now, building his dream home in Tennessee. So,
Okay.
yeah.
There you go.
Kevin, thank you for that report. Really appreciate the work you did on the tariff information. That was good stuff to listen to. But Jared, I take it that now I'm going to summarize based feedback on your, if I understand your question, they were asking, would you summarize that by saying you really don't see any detrimental impact from the staff cuts in the highway administration that we've seen? Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Right now, things are moving along. They are, a little slower sometimes, but not overall. I think we've interjected a few weeks delay, maybe at most, and so we can work with that.
Okay.
If things don't, continue to, I think things will pick back up as we get into our groove. Yes, sir.
And I had one other question that I'd like to, on the legislative package, I'd like to know how, if we've already implemented the utility relocation bill act now, I guess it is, and is that made any impact on us getting projects moving quicker than what we have been in the past? How does that impact
So
us?
that's a great question. So just us having those collaborative meetings with the utilities, with the contractors, has already, infused benefits into the process. We're seeing more responsiveness from them. But next, we'll be promulgating rules. We'll be updating our utility accommodation policy to match what's in the legislation. And that should come out hopefully before your next commission meeting. And so we'll have that in place, and we'll be working to track and see, how far this legislation does go to help us improve that efficiency. We heard from Senator Dismang and others on the Transportation Committee that if it didn't yield great benefits, they're looking to do more next session. So we'll be watching that and tracking that.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you, Kevin. Now I'd like Crystal Woods to come up and give us an update on our efficiency review implementation. And while she's doing that, I just want to again thank our staff members. It's because of their hard work in implementing these rules that we saw that requirement for OIA to audit the department each year lifted. So just appreciate all the work on that.
Good morning. I am happy to share even more progress today with you on our implementation of the recommendations from the efficiency review. So recommendation number 5 under the procurement category said we should implement efficiencies in procurement and purchasing. This recommendation was split into 2 subcategories: the procurement of construction projects and the procurement of equipment and materials. The section related to equipment and materials is complete. On the construction side, we've now issued updated guidance to our staff for using incentive or disincentive bidding methods. The final action remaining to call this recommendation complete is to finalize our change order study and, if needed, implement any new or improved processes that would yield the best benefits from that study. The change order study is about 80% complete. Recommendation number 7 under the expenditures category said we should implement project and portfolio management frameworks. This is another recommendation that was split into 2 subcategories, one for construction projects and one for maintenance activities. This slide refers to the construction subcategory, which has been mostly completed. The Ashtoware project software will provide additional reporting tools for monitoring our construction projects. We're currently working with the consultant to customize that new system, and we've also begun training. As of the month of April, our staff members from the construction and materials divisions, as well as our resident engineer office staff, have been trained, and they're now helping us test the new system and giving us feedback as we continue to customize the system. The final step in closing this subcategory is to start publishing the status of our construction projects on the website, which is being developed by Garver. And that will help us close recommendation number 3 as well. On the maintenance subcategory, it has also been mostly completed. The ViewWorks maintenance management system will help us manage our maintenance efforts based on actual asset condition in the field. We've developed the annual work plan manual, the maintenance management guide, and the ViewWorks desktop training and users manual. Those have been provided to all of our maintenance supervisors, and we've also completed training with all of those supervisors. The final step in closing this subcategory is essentially the same as with the construction subcategory. We're working with Garver to provide information from our new system to start publishing the status of our maintenance activities. So we're going to have, Maria and I were talking before the meeting, we're going to have to put a thermometer up here so, we can shoot confetti when we finish this. But as of right now, 8 of the 13 recommendations have now been fully implemented, and 81 of the 90 rules now considered complete. That's a 90% completion rate and a 3% increase since the last meeting. Any questions?
Appreciate you, Crystal. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And we're tracking to finish that implementation near the end of this year, so we're all but there. Next, I'd like to ask Jesse Jones, our Chief Engineer for Pre-Construction, to come up and talk to us about our bid lettings.
Sorry. Thank you, Director. Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Since your last meeting, we have had 2 successful lettings, and one in April and one in May. In our April letting, we awarded 29 projects for $36.3 million. There were 79 bids submitted from 29 different contractors. And the first project I would like to highlight is located in Sebastian County. This project will resurface 6.8 miles of highways 64, 253, and 271 in Fort Smith. For portions of Highway 253, we will have a 5-inch concrete overlay and 3 inches of asphalt overlay on the shoulders. This work is anticipated to be completed by late 2025. The next project is in White County. This project will resurface 16.1 miles of highways 64, 167, 258, and 367 in the vicinity of Ball Knob. In addition to our standard asphalt overlay, this project will also include a pavement treatment strategy, which is called hot in-place recycling on portions of Highway 167. Hot place recycling is an on-site, in-place repaving method to rehab deteriorated asphalt pavements, minimize the use of new materials. This project should be completed later this year as well. In our May letting, we awarded 21 projects for $55.8 million. There were 62 bids submitted and from 25 different contractors. The first project I would like to highlight is located in Cross County on Highway 42 near Coldwater. This project will replace a bridge over the St. Francis River that was closed due to poor condition in November 2023 and later collapsed in June 2024. The collapsed structure was removed in a previous construction project that was awarded last September and was completed in December. This project is anticipated to be complete by late 2026.
Jesse, I want to interrupt you there and thank again our staff. That bridge collapsed last summer. We tasked them with getting a project ready in short order, and they did that, and we were able to take bids just 1 year later. They designed a whole bridge, and now we're looking to get that thing reestablished and open by late next year. I'm proud of that effort. Thank you guys for that.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next project I would like to discuss takes us to Crawford County. This project will improve the I-40 and Highway 59 interchange by constructing ramp improvements and adding a new roundabout on the I-40 frontage road. This project is a partnering project with the City of Van Buren, and the city is providing $3 million for this project. And the work is expected to be complete in late 2026. So the last project I would like to highlight from the May lighting is located in Boone County. This project will widen 1.7 miles of Highway 62 from 2 to 5 lanes between Bellefonte and the Marion County line. This is one of the projects that were promised for the Renew Arkansas program. This is another promise made and promise kept. This project is within the limits of Priority 1 of the 3 priorities that were established by the North Arkansas East-West Corridor Association. And this work should be done by mid-2027. And bids will be open for the June letting next Wednesday. This letting will include 2 state jobs and 2 county projects. Director, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Jesse. Any questions for Jesse?
Jesse, sometime in the future, can we see an overall report on the health of all the bridges? I feel like it's been a while since we've taken a look as a commission at that. I'd love to see that.
Yes, sir.
But we've had
Yes,
some
ma'am.
good successes, so I want to take a look at that again. Thank
Okay.
you.
And I failed to think Garver was the one that designed that Coldwater Bridge. Appreciate Garver for helping us with that, too. All right, next up, Rex Bynes, our Chief Engineer for Operations, is going to come up and talk to us about some maintenance activity we've had lately and update us on our construction projects.
Thank you, Director. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. For our construction update this morning, we'd like to just say that the department has 253 active construction projects with a value of $2.7 billion currently. We've had 20 jobs declared substantially complete since your last meeting, representing about $43 million. And we have paid out $302 million since your last commission meeting. Okay. So what we'd like to do for in the future for construction updates is highlight projects of significant importance in different areas of the state. And this morning, we're going to highlight one in South Arkansas. This is a project constructing about 8 miles of future I-69 near Monticello in Drew County. The job was led in August of 22 and actually began work in February of 2023. The purpose of this job is to construct 8.25 miles of 2-lane roadway with structures. On future I-69, the project extends east from Monticello Bypass, and which was completed and opened to traffic in 2018, and the job terminates at Highway 293 near Selma. The contract is approximately 35% complete with the job and is expected to be finished in late 2027. Just like to also say that this job was primarily funded through earmarks. So next we've got a short video, a flyover of the construction going on. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to our maintenance activities. For our maintenance update, I'd like to highlight the efforts of our crews in recent severe weather events that we've had across the state. Just a few weeks ago in mid-March, after the mid-March tornadoes, Another historic severe weather system occurred between April 2nd and April 7th, in which tornadoes and flooding significantly impacted Arkansas. Governor Sanders declared the state of emergency on April 2nd in advance of the predicted event. On April 2nd, a Category EF3 tornado struck Lake City and Monette in Craighead County, and an EF2 tornado struck Elmira in Arkansas County. Following these tornadoes, a broad area of recurring heavy rainfall up to 15 inches fell over several days, creating flash flooding and multiple river flood events. Caused widespread damage to roadways and drainage structures in the state. Our maintenance crews worked hard day and night as the event unfolded, clearing trees and debris, closing roads due to hazards, and repairing culverts and roadway washouts, and assisting cities and counties as needed. By Sunday, April 6th, over 100 highway closures due to damage from rainfall and storm damage. In the photos shown on the top right, you can see I-57 near Jacksonville was partially covered. We were able, due to the help of highway police, were able to keep traffic moving slowly through that area. And then on the bottom right-hand corner, a similar situation in 930 near Fulton. By April 7th, there were approximately 60 highway closures. 45 counties have emergency declarations due to reported damage. And on April 14th, we still had 30 highways closed. So a week later, due to flooding, most highways were reopened within 2 weeks. The last flooded area to reopen was actually on May 7th, a month later. And that was on Highway 37 near Grubbs. This map shows all the highways that were actually partially or fully flooded due to this storm event. This does not include highways closed due to damage, such as culvert washouts. That'll be shown next. Overall flooding occurred on a total of 232 highways, with 157 highway sections closed due to flooding. This map shows all the damaged highways that were due to this event. Overall, a total of 149 highways experienced damage due to flooding. So far, RDOT has spent about $500,000 on temporary repairs to keep these open. Maintenance Division is working and assessing the permanent damage that was done and the full extent, and compiling cost estimates. The reimbursement request will be submitted to the FHWA, the Federal Highway Administration, through the Emergency Relief Program. And currently, we are estimating permanent repairs will be in the area of $16 million. So the next few slides, I'm going to show some of the highway damage and our staff as they were working to make temporary repairs and keep the roads open. As you can see here, the one on the left is Highway 9 near Mammoth Springs, and Highway 128 in Garland County. You can't see it real well, but this the big guy here in the green is our director. He went out with the crews assessing damages. Here's one of our employees in District 3 near Hempstead County. This is Mr. Paul Gray doing a water rescue, the guy that washed off the road, and we were able to help him and get that guy out before he got washed in. This is in District 1 near Earl. You can see all the sandbags, kind of see the white. The crews put out sandbags, and they were able to keep this road open for several more hours and under traffic moving. It did eventually get over the road, but we made it a good time without it. And then here's some flood damage that happened near Austin, Highway 38, and our staff quickly reinstalling the culverts and getting the road back open to traffic. Some damage near Cabot on Highway 89 and near Georgetown on Highway 36, very, very similar washouts. And then these two is near the same location. It's on Highway 51 near Hollywood and South Arkansas. And you can see in this event, we actually had to completely reconstruct this section of roadway. But our crews did a great job, and I'd just like to applaud our maintenance crews for their dedication and hard work. I really appreciate their efforts. And so, Director, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Rex. It sure has been a wet year already, with some areas of the state approaching their annual totals of rainfall already. Any questions for Rex today?
I mean, it's just incredible. And we always talk about these maintenance crews being the first responders for the first responders. I can't think of a better example than these events. I mean, that worker getting somebody out of a car, and I mean, and trying to make this safe while it's still ongoing. That's just done an incredible job, and we appreciate each and every one of them.
Yeah, they do it. They do an outstanding job. They do.
I actually saw one clip on the news. A tree had come across Highway 412 between Springdale and Salem Springs, and I'm not even sure the tree had finished moving yet, and there was an RDOT truck in the picture there. So
We tried to catch them before they hit the ground.
I did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Rex. Appreciate that update. All right, I want to go over a few of our recent activities with you and show you what's been happening around here since the last commission meeting. On April 11th, the Women in STEM Conference was held in Hot Springs at the Convention Center. This conference provides the opportunity for young women to connect with and learn from other women who are leaders and professionals in the fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. This year, there were over 300 attendees there, representing 15 different schools. A few of our own served in different roles this year. Jesse Jones welcomed everybody to the conference. Thank you for doing that, Jesse. Ms. Kelly Wiley, our Assistant Chief Engineer for Program Delivery, moderated a panel discussion, and I heard good things about that. Patrick Thomas, our local technical program manager in our local programs division, he provided closing remarks, and Patrick was actually the one that founded the Arkansas chapter of this conference about 4 years ago, and he's currently co-chair along with Christy Marshall, our on-the-job and support services training specialist here at the department. In addition to hearing from RDOT, their attendees also heard from women representing the State Crime Lab, UAMS, Baptist Health, Central Arkansas Water, and Deloitte. And several of our divisions had booths set up at the conference so that folks could learn more about the special things we do in our divisions here at the department. So appreciate everybody participating in that. On April 21st, we kicked off our Work Zone Awareness Week. It was held at the Little Rock Air Force Base in Jacksonville, overlooking our Interstate 57 widening project. Every spring we hold this event, which coincides with the National Work Zone Awareness Week. And this year's theme was Respect the Zone so we all get home. And we had a lot of great support and attendees there that day. Commissioner Halsey came and was there with us. Senator Ricky Hill, Don Weaver of Weaver Bailey Construction, D.B. Hill was there, Park Estes, and many others. We appreciate you and your support and for being at that event. I want to say a special word of thanks to the Little Rock Air Force Base for letting us use their parking lot, and to our Highway Police. Our Honor Guard was there that day, and they presented the colors and watched over the ceremony. On April 30th, Rex and I spoke to the Asphalt Paving Association annual conference in Branson. I got the chance to talk to them about our construction programs, the status of federal funding, and some general updates like a recap of our 2025 session that Kevin just talked about. Rex updated the group on the progress we're making on our spec book rewrite and an update. So it was a great meeting. It's always good to be with that group. They're just great partners with us, and we appreciate the conversations each year. In May, early May, I went to CrossIt. Kevin and I went down and were present and spoke at the Rotary Club meeting. It was held there at a local restaurant. Drew Hoggard, our District 2 engineer, was there to support us there, and I appreciate him being there. I talked to them about our legislative session, our safety campaigns, and some projects in their area. Mayor Crystal Marshall and the rest of the group were very welcoming. She is a great advocate for transportation and for the department, and I appreciate her support as well. In May 12th to 15th, several of our administration went to the ASHTO Spring Meeting. It was held in Hartford, Connecticut. This meeting brings together transportation officials, elected officials too, from around the nation to share latest innovations and best practices in the transportation field. We had a great time at the event. We talked about the federal reauthorization of highway legislation, and we will be back with that same group in November to carry on that conversation. May 27th through 29th, Crystal and Jesse attended the Transportation Research Board Data and Artificial Intelligence Conference in Seattle. We all know AI is making its way into our industries and our lives on a daily basis, and in our field of transportation, there's no exception there. Any chance we can get to learn about this field and stay up to date on what's happening is appreciated, and I appreciate you both for being at that conference. Rex attended at the same time a Texas Emergency Management Annual Conference where he learned about topics like disaster communications, protecting critical infrastructure, and community recovery strategies after disasters hit. And we appreciate Rex being there, collaborating with all of our partners across the region. On June 4th, Commissioner Holder spoke to MetroPlan's 70th anniversary celebration, which was held here in Little Rock. Kelly Wiley also attended the event. For those who aren't familiar, MetroPlan is the planning organization that works with local governments in Central Arkansas. We partner with MetroPlan frequently to deliver much-needed projects in this area. Appreciate y'all being there. On June 6th, I spoke to the Fort Smith Regional Chamber of Commerce First Friday Breakfast Group. Vice Chairman Gibson was there with me that day. We had a great discussion, robust question and answer session, which is my favorite part of these discussions when we have an interactive group. District Engineer Jason Huey was present there. And afterwards, I got to go tour the Greenwood Bypass, which was a great experience. We appreciate the ability to be there with Fort Smith and talk to them about important projects in the area. And first and foremost on their mind was the status of Interstate 49. We're also, I think today we were scheduled to wrap up shooting on our Street Smart safety campaign. We'll see how that goes with the weather out there. But I know Parker had updated us previously about this program. As a reminder, we learned about this from a program that Georgia did that's similar. We're working with the Department of Education using some federal aid safety funds that we get to build a program to make ready for teachers to use in their curriculum. The first year we're going to roll out to 6th to 8th grade classrooms, and we'll have games, lesson plans, videos, so that they can talk to their staff, their students rather, about the importance of being safe out there on the roadways. The idea is that we get to them before they get behind the wheel, instill great safe driving habits. It's really great. We got to sample talent from Arkansas. There's actually Arkansas students. Arkansas kids will be the ones that will be acting in these video spots. So it's going to be special and close to home for us here as we unveil this campaign this fall. June 12th, we held our annual Equipment Operators Rodeo. Commissioner Holder was present to welcome the crowd. It's always just a fantastic event to allow our maintenance workers to showcase their skills. Commissioner, would you like to talk about the event a little bit?
It's just a great event. I mean, they get to bring their families out. Families can't go into the work zones, and so for them to see what their parents do and take pride in that, I think that's part of the reason why we have a lot of families who continue to work for the department, and that's part of their family story. But it was just a great day, and I know you got the slide coming up for the T-shirts. I asked Jared if we could put that together because all the different districts have different T-shirts, and my favorite is "Screaming for Vengeance" right next to a Bible verse. So they kind of they show their personalities a little bit in their T-shirts, and they have a lot of friendly competition, and I think it really helps. It's a great bonding activity, and it's fun to get out and see everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, we love the T-shirts. I think next year we're going to make a T-shirt contest a part of the competition. But we appreciate you being there and supporting our staff. It means a lot for you to be there at that event. So just quickly, our contestants, they compete in 7 categories: lowboy truck, tandem axle dump truck, single axle dump truck, tractor mower, backhoe, motor patrol, and skid steer. So the winners from all those categories, the first and second place winners, they will go to a regional competition. This year it's held in Lexington, Kentucky in the fall, and we're hoping to bring home our 8th trophy for Arkansas since this started. But I wanted Alex Roof's here today. Alex, wave everybody. He's our District 5 engineer. His team won the overall competition. So District 5, they took home the honor of being first place by division. And so we got the trophy up here, and it logged since we've been doing the rodeo for about 30 years now. Who's won? And we've got District 5 shirt on display up here for you guys to see. But it's a great event. Alex, thanks for your leadership. Congratulations to you guys for your win. District 1 took second place, and District 9 got third place. But let's give Alex and his team a round of applause. This was my first rodeo as director. I was honored to judge many of those events, but it was, extra special being there as director. Enjoyed that. All right, the last update I have for you, on June 13th, I went to Hot Springs for the West Central Arkansas Planning and Development District Board meeting. That group represents 10 counties along the west central side of Arkansas. We had a great attendance there, a lot of judges. Jimmy was there. Thank you for being there, Jimmy, and a lot of other congressional staffers were there. We talked about the commission's history, how it set up the department and the state for success and long-term stability. We talked about updates around the department, and we gave them project updates about things going on in their counties, and they were really eager to hear about that. So enjoyed that time there with them. Any questions about those recent events? With that, I want to ask Patrick Patton to come back up and talk to us about our proposed operating budget for the next state fiscal year.
All right, I'm back. First of all, I'd like to, like I ended the presentation a minute ago, thank the people that are involved in the budget process. A lot of you in here are involved. HR is critically involved on the staffing side and the salary side. The chiefs, assistant chiefs, I appreciate everybody's hard work on it. This was, another one of Jared's first. It was a different process. It was a good process. Asked a lot of good questions, so challenged us as we went through that. So with that, what I was talking about earlier was historically, now we're going to look into the future with the crystal ball that we obtained. What we have here is the last 4 years of budget. So from 23 to 26. I was talking to a couple of commissioners earlier, and they were asking, what's the outlook for the revenues? Well, this gives you a good pictorial of how flat things are. I continue to say, revenues are flat, expenses are somewhat flat, but this is a good picture of that. And so I'm going to key on the two far right columns, the 25 and 26, but it gives you some historical look. So one of the things that probably jumps out at you as you go across the total projected state revenue line, we go from 400 million to 700 million. That's when half-cent sales tax came into effect for permanent for RDOT's operations. Went away from the CAP program, came into our operations at the tune of, just shy of 300 million a year. So you'll see an increase there. The next line is operating budget. We're showing a 3.9% increase in our ask for operating budget. Then you go on down, pretty much everything's flat until you get down to the 25% general revenue surplus. Historically, we've budgeted for 50 million because the way this works is we get the first 25% of the first 200 million surplus. And if you hadn't been reading the paper or seen, DFNA in May has to reevaluate the projections every year. So article came out May 22nd where DFNA had adjusted their projections for state fiscal year from 278 million surplus down to 214.8, citing state income tax extension and uncertainty surrounding product pricing. That alarmed us because, like I said, the first 200 million is what we get our 25% calculated off of. 14 million is not much of a cushion. That could fluctuate down below 200 million before the end of the year, which I'm hoping it's not, but just, keep them fingers crossed that this projection stays good. They also reduced state fiscal year 26. It was adjusted from almost 300 million down to 185.1. They cited uncertainty on pricing, and also the last session that just ended that things will go into effect August 5th, the impacts on the state revenues. There were a lot of big numbers coming through on impacts of general revenues. So with that said, you can see where we discounted our projection of revenues from 50 to 46 million for state surplus. So we hope that holds true or comes in higher. Just like to point out a couple of things, and then I'll move on from this slide, is the top three revenue sources that we have are motor fuel, half-cent sales tax, and registration. Motor fuel makes up about 40% of our revenue. Half-cent makes up roughly 35%, and then about 3% is our registration fees. So the top three make up 94% of our monthly revenues, or 77% of all of our revenue sources. So when they're flat, the top three, if they're flat, we're pretty much kind of boxed into what our revenue source is. The only one that, as you all have seen since you've been on the board or on the commission, that fluctuates, that does give us some variability, is natural gas severance. When it's up, we're happy, but we're kind of cautiously happy because we know it's probably going to go back down. The top three that I just mentioned, motor fuel, half-cent sales tax, and registration fees year over year, they're flat at about 700 million. The next slide is our proposed operating budget. So what we've got here is you received, I think, in your packet this month a full version of the budget. The salary component is made up of salaries, overtime, and payroll additives, which the salaries and overtime are pretty, self-explanatory. Just what I try to tell RDOT staff, and we've had lots of discussions about it, is every time we talk about a $1 increase in salaries, it's actually $1.38, because we've got 38% or 38 cents on the dollar in payroll additives. And what that is 7% in FICA, 14.9% in our retirement match, 13.8% in our state group insurance match, and then about 1% each for unemployment insurance and workman's comp. The one that will continue to creep up is the state match. Each year until at least 2028, our required state match is going to go up about $60 to $80 a year or a month per employee. So that's a big chunk when you're talking about roughly 4,000 that we're paying a state match on. So that gives you the salary component. The operating expense component is the component of the budget for just regular operating expenses, whether it be supplies, travel, copier leases, et cetera. The four categories of director, chief admin, chief engineer of pre-construction, and of operations, that's got probably 70% of our total ask for the budget. The two that always get questions about is what's capital outlay and what are special allotments. Well, the capital outlay is our road machinery equipment budget that's managed by Danny Keene and his staff. That's roughly $29 million out of the $37 million that we're asking for this year. Other factors in that capital outlay number of that $37 million are computer equipment, and then some AHP vehicles and other equipment that we need for the department to work. Special allotments, talked about a little bit about that this morning. That's where our mowing contracts are, anticipated construction for facilities, the SALT fund, the inclement weather reserve, and then our IT software and maintenance contracts. We switched that budget out of IT last year, and we're tracking those separately in this budget. Going across, you see our less federal aid and other participation. That's our anticipated federal reimbursement. So we get over to a net number of $460 million that, if you look back on this slide, it's about halfway down. That's deducted out, so you can look down at the very bottom. One thing I forgot to point out was year over year, 25 to 26, if you look at the very bottom number, we're suggesting that there'd be about 300 or 400 million, 300 or 400,000 less in revenue. So when I say flat, it's very flat. Moving on to just some quick highlights. The recommendations that we have in the budget before you for approval today is a 2.5% cost of living adjustment, which would count for about $5.6 million. A 1.5% average performance-based pay increase, which would be about $3.7 million. And that's achieved through our Achieving Career Excellence program, our ACE program. And then we raised the minimum wage for entry-level pay for grade 4 to $16 an hour, which is about $800,000. The operating highlights, the last thing I'll talk about with the budget before we consider it is a 2.5% increase to district operations, which is about $1 million. Last year it was a 3%. Information, 10% increase in road machinery budget. That's to help get our fleet of vehicle or fleet of machinery more up to date, so that we can fulfill our mission hopefully more efficiently. Increase in information technology and highway police budgets. That was to keep up with moving technology. The director talked about AI a minute ago. We're having to look at that. We're having to look at all of our softwares as we go forward to make sure they're compatible. AHP's budget, we're looking at potentially taking advantage of 2 grants to upgrade technology for Lehigh and the Marion way stations. Then we've got our capital project commitments, which those deal with, like I said, just some regular ongoing commitments for buildings and facilities that in the past we have not put above the above the line. We've put them below, saying as funds become available. But the focus has shifted to let's put these on our radar, so that as opposed to when do funds become available, we're committing to doing certain projects. So with that, that's all I have. Do you all have any questions on the proposed budget? That's great.
No questions for Patrick? Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if the commission's so inclined, we need a motion to approve the budget.
Commissioners, you've heard the request from the director. What is your pleasure, please?
I'll make the motion to approve the budget.
I'll second.
We've got a motion and a second. Those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion passes.
Thank you all. Appreciate you. All right, I want to just briefly run through our upcoming events that we have on tap before our next commission meeting. Tomorrow and the next day, leadership staff and I are going to be in Mount Magazine at the State Park. Shay Lewis, Director of Parks, helped us secure that facility there. We're going to have our annual meeting there this year. We have it in Little Rock typically, but we're going to do it there, have a little time to talk about what's important, what's going on around the agency, and refocus a little bit. Looking forward to that. June 24th, I'll be in Saline County speaking at the Old River Bridge ribbon cutting there over the Saline River. That's part of the Southwest Trail Project. We've been involved in that for a number of years now. June 25th, I'll present to Metroplan at their board meeting. July 8th, I have a PE board meeting here in town. July 10th, Chairman Taldo and I will be at the Good Roads Foundation executive meeting. And then in late July, the Good Roads Summer Meeting will be held in Hot Springs. Commission and I will be there, and some of our leadership staff. Looking forward to that. It's always a good event. July 31st to August 6th, the Southern Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials annual conference is held in Kentucky this year. You know, we hosted the meeting last year. It was a great event. We're going to Kentucky for that meeting this year. Looking forward to that. August 13th, I'll be speaking in Hot Springs at the Concrete Pavement Conference, similar to the Asphalt Paving Conference in Branson. Be speaking to this group in Hot Springs. And then we're back here on August 20th for your next commission meeting. Just a couple of other items in other business, and then I'll kick it back to you, Chairman. We got notice of another round of bridge improvement grant funding since the last meeting. $2.5 billion is available to us next year for federal year 2026. Our staff looked at the requirements and is recommending that we apply for the projects you see on your screen there. It's a $140 million bridge deck rehabilitation project on Interstate 30 in Little Rock. Between University and the South Terminal Interchange, we would do, I believe it's a dozen bridge decks there, and those bridge decks are aging. We don't need to replace the bridges, we just need to refresh those decks. So with your agreement, we would love to submit an application for this project. So if you're inclined, again, Mr. Chairman, we'd like a motion for this.
I want to make that motion. Motion to approve applying for this grant.
Got a motion? Do I hear a second? Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Appreciate that. This will really, if we're able to be successful here, it's going to help free up some other construction funding for other projects around the state. Since your last meeting, the Arkansas Academy of Civil Engineers inducted 3 of our own into the academy. I wanted to highlight that today. This academy was established at the University of Arkansas in 1980. We have a number of members of the department who are part of this academy, but they seek new members annually, and membership is awarded to individuals who've made significant contributions to the field of civil engineering. So on April 11th, 14 new inductees were inducted into the association, and 3 of those were ours. Stacy Burge, our District 9 engineer, Jonathan Mormon, staff engineer and maintenance, and Kevin White, division head of right-of-way. And Kevin just got 28 years of service in last week, but we want to say congratulations to them and well done. And lastly, I wanted to mention something that's it's also special with that group. In addition to those 3 inductees, a former RDOT employee, Alice Dong, was inducted as an honorary member. So I just want to tell you a little bit about her story. She has a really fantastic story. She began her career here with us in February of 1950 in our bridge division. She was the only female engineer out of the 30 engineers in that division. In fact, at that time, she was the only female engineer in the department and one of only 3 in Little Rock. So she was a trailblazer. A couple years later, she advanced to the title of Advanced Bridge Engineer in 1952. And she left the department for a position a year or 2 later, moved to San Francisco, but in 1957, she came back to Arkansas and began working for us again. In 1987, she obtained a master's degree at Memphis State and ultimately retired from the department. During her tenure, she had the honor of representing Arkansas as the first International Conference of Women Engineers and Scientists at their chapter in New York City in June of 1964. She retired as a senior bridge design engineer, but she remained active in the department's retirement community, always visiting the bridge division when she attended retirement association meetings and brought cookies with her every time she came, which that's important. Alice was a talented engineer, but she had a variety of other talents and was well known as a remarkable woman to all of her colleagues and friends. Sadly, she passed in April of 23, but just wanted to tell you her story. It's really fascinating, and we want to honor her and her service and her induction into the Academy of Civil Engineering. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will conclude my report and kick it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Director. Much of the meeting today has been dealing with department budget, and so it's also time for the director's performance evaluation. To properly address this annual review, the commission will need to move into executive session. I would entertain a motion to move into this executive session for the purpose of the annual performance evaluation for our director. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I hear a second? Second. I got a motion and second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move to the 10th floor executive conference room for our executive session. This is the only business left to conduct at this meeting. In case anyone needs to leave, no, I think you need to stay here. When we finish with the review process, the commission will return to this room and continue with the meeting. Thank you. In order to return to our public meeting, I need a motion to close the executive session and reopen the regular business meeting. Do I hear a motion? We got a motion and second. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, we're now back in regular session. The commission has completed their evaluation of Director Wiley. In the executive session, the commission found that his performance to be exemplary as expected. Thank you very much. As a result of that, we have taken action to award Director Wiley a 4.75% salary increase. To make it official, we will now ratify it. Do I entertain a motion to approve?
Second.
We got a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I appreciate everyone being here today, and thank you to those watching on our live stream. Any other business from the commissioners?
We might mention that we also talked about agreeing to say "Go Hogs" tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Got to win a baseball game. That was unanimous, by the way.
Well, I'd like to, it looks like everybody's satisfied. I'd like to thank our staff and Dave's staff for and Christy for putting this all together. And without objection, that will conclude our meeting today. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.